Hello TYBC students. Uh, I must say first of all thank you for you all for a overwhelming response from last several days. Yesterday's video in the series of this TYBC physics subject atomic and molecular subspectra. Yesterday I posted one YouTube or video lecture over this particular topic, and it has been in 24 hours, less than 24 hours, it has been viewed by almost 250 students. So that's a very nice response. I'm sure and happy that most of you are getting some good insight from all these videos. Myself, my friend from PSTG Media, Dr. Tamde, PS Tamde, and some other my colleagues and friends, they are preparing all such videos. I am sure in coming days you will get more and more such videos, and that will help you for preparation of this coming examination, that is the university examination, Savitribai Phule Pune University examination, which is in the next month. So let's go for this chapter number 2 from the same topic, that is the atomic and molecular spectra. Title of this particular chapter is Spectra of One Electron Atom. In the first earlier video, we have seen the different types of atomic model. Basically, this particular first chapter concentrates on the Bohr model, its postulates, other expressions given by this particular Bohr model, successful explanation of this hydrogen spectrum, etc. Then at the same time, we have gone for some of the details, like another experiment like called as Frank-Hertz experiment. So existence of this stationary orbits, etc. These are the concepts we have discussed in the yesterday's lecture. In today's discussion, we are going to concentrate on the chapter number 2, that is spectra of one electron atom. Basically, this is also called as spectra of alkali atom. The atoms in which last orbit there is one unpaired electron is there or remains there. Such atoms are called as one electron atom system, and the spectra or the spectrum given by such type of electron, that such type of atoms which are in the having one electron in the last orbit or the outermost orbit, this is called as the spectra of one electron atom system. And all such optical spectrum or the electrons in the last orbit, unpaired electron, single electron, that is called as an optical electron. And the spectrum of all such one valence electron system is because of this optical spectrum, optical electron, as we all know. So let's go for the questions one by one. Question number 1, the spectra of one electron atom is also called as, already we have discussed this, X-ray spectra is because of this interior of the electrons inside. So for example, I'll draw a very simple picture that tells you how this particular thing can be seen. So here we are a picture of the atom. This is going to be the nucleus. Then these are the several orbits. Of course, not all orbits are spherical one, but this is what we draw a crude picture of the atom. In the first innermost cell, there are 2 electrons. In the second innermost cell, we call there to be 8 number of electrons, and likewise this all things all we know. And whenever this inner electron is displaced by somehow, and when this vacancy is filled up by the outer orbit electrons or electrons in the higher orbit, in that case this radiation emitted, these are called as X-rays. We know the source of X-ray radiations. These radiations are emitted by readjustment, internal readjustment of the electron inside an atom, whereas infrared spectra is basically a molecular spectra. It doesn't involve this movement of electron or transition of electrons in this case, whereas helium spectra is again, so helium has a electronic configuration as 1s2. So this is not a one valence electron system, so this is not going to be an answer of these questions. So what remains is this alkali spectra. So spectra of one electron atom is also called as alkali spectra, as we know that sodium, potassium, cesium, etc., these are the elements which are called to be this alkali group element. There are 4 or 5 different elements, and all these elements, they have their configuration like this. So for example, sodium Na11, we have electronic configuration as 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 and 3s1. So the atom which is having this type of configuration, electronic configuration, so next is 4s1, next to that is this 5s1 and so on. So all the atoms which are having this type of electronic configuration, these are called as alkali atoms, and the spectra emitted by all the absorption of emission spectra of all these elements, this comes in one group, and that is called as alkali spectrum, and this is what the one atom electron system. So one electron system is one electron at system, spectra system is basically the alkali spectra, that is known to all of us. Then question 2, in one valence electron atom spectra, the inertial electrons dash dash to the optical spectra, whether they contribute, so do contribute, do not contribute, sometimes contribute, and none of this. So naturally, as we have seen just now, the inner electron, this is atom, inner electrons do not take part at all in the contribution of this optical spectrum. The electron in the higher or the last orbit, single electron like this 3s1 we have just now seen in case of sodium, this electron undergoes transitions, it goes to higher energy states or excited states and comes back. So there is either absorption or emission of the radiation, and this is called as optical radiation. So naturally, in case of optical spectra of this one valence electron system, inner electrons or the core, the electrons inside the core, these electrons do not play any role, and that's what the correct answer of this question number 2 is, do not contribute. So in one valence electron atom spectra, the inertial electrons do not contribute to the optical spectra. Whoever contribution gives is this only unpaired selected electron in the outermost orbit, which is unpaired, and that its transitions are only responsible for the spectrum of such one valence electron system. That's why question number 2 answer is B. Now question number 3, in case of one electron system, the value of S is 1/2, so its multiplicity. Now we know in atomic and molecular spectra we have learned this multiplicity sorry, multiplicity is given by twice S plus 1. So what is this? This is the spin of this particular system or atom which has been given, and in this case if it is calculated, this comes to be 2 into 1/2, S is given to be 1/2 and plus 1. So making this calculation, we get this to be equal to 2. So multiplicity of such level is said to be 2, and that's what the correct answer in this question is. M is equal to, that is option E. So that means whatever cell we are discussing, this cell gets splitted in two different cells, and thereby this type of doublet or if this is the ground state and this is the first excited and excited states, in which is splitted because of this type of S is equal to 1/2. Now there are doublets are found there, and this is why this is called as a doublet state. So multiplicity in this case is 2. That's why two spectral lines are observed in its optical spectra, as the simple example shows here. So this is how we have to just remember the formula for multiplicity for any of the state is given by twice S plus 1, where S is either, if it's a single electron, you have to get the spin of the single electron. If it is a multi-electron system, then accordingly we have to calculate the capital S, and then you go for this multiplicity and so on. Then question number 4, the single electron system always gives rise to a dash dash for the values. So we have been given these are the combinations. This we have to calculate this J is given by these two, so L plus J as well as this capital J as well as L minus capital J. So in this case we are given these two steps, L plus 1/2 and L minus 1/2 for J. So whenever we go for this type of steps, in that case we are supposed to get, this is what a two state, that means for example if I go for a very simple example for L is equal to 1, that is for individual single electron, this is L is equal to 1. As there is only one electron, this L is equal to capital L is also equal to 1. Then small s is equal to 1/2, that is the individual single electron spin. So capital S is also going to be 1/2, and therefore J is calculated by this method, L bar plus S bar. This is a vector addition, and this vector addition shows you there are two possibilities. One is L plus S bar and second possibility is L minus S bar. If I go for this calculation, then L plus S bar gives you 1 plus 1 half, and L minus 1 minus 1 half gives me this is simply 1 half. So this is 3 by 2 and this is 1 half. That is how we get two J values. J values are obtained to be 3 by 2 and 1 half. That means this is going to be a doublet, and therefore in this particular question the correct answer is this C. So single electron system always gives rise to a doublet for the values L plus half and L minus half. Since S is half and L you can take any value depending upon in which subcell you are. Based upon that, every level is found to be split into in the doublet, and that's what C is the correct answer of this question number 4. Now question 5. The ground state of one electron atom is always. Now ground state means it is always in this 3s, 4s and so on. So if it is 3s, 4s states etc., then I will take this example. N is equal to 3. Since it is S state, so this in this case this L value or this orbital angular momentum is simply 0, or orbital angular quantum number L is equal to 0, and since it's a single electron, small s is going to be half, and therefore addition of this so getting this J bar is equal to L bar plus S bar. As this L bar is 0, S bar is capital S bar is going to be half. Adding this, I'll get J bar is only simply equal to 0 plus 1 half, and that is simply 1 half. So singlet state. So this is called as a singlet state. I am supposed to get J value or the total angular momentum of such a system is always a value 1 half, and that is a singlet, and that's why ground state of any of such system is always a singlet. Whether you are in 3s orbit, whether you are in 4s, or the electron you are discussing from the 3s or 4s or 5s, every time ground state of such type of one electron system is always going to be singlet. And when this electron gets, that means from 3s to 3p, now there is a possibility, there are two orbits of the p, the possibility of this splitting of this p, and therefore when it transitions from this to this or this to this, whatever transitions, then we observe doublet there. So these excited states are doublet, whereas ground state is always going to be a singlet. So this is to be understood from one valence electron system or such type of examples. Now question number 6 is a bit required certain calculations. The spectral term, or sometimes we call it with term values, term value doublet P 3 by 2. So this is doublet P 3 by 2 represents. Now from our knowledge of this atomic molecular spectra, we have a method. Some books write this multiplicity here. First multiplicity on the superscript, then there is a symbol used for value of this L. Depending upon L is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, etc., we write S, capital P, capital D, capital F, etc., and then at this end we write this value of the total angular momentum. So total angular momentum. Okay, some books use this multiplicity is written here, doesn't matter, we have to just understand this, and this is total angular momentum value of J. So in this given state we have been given multiplicity M is equal to 2. We have been given value of L is equal to so it is P state, so it is P state, and therefore for P state we have L is equal to capital 1, and similarly J is given to be 3 by 2. So 3 by 2 this is J is given to be 3 by 2, M is given to be 2, and this we know that this multiplicity is given by twice S plus 1, that is equal to 2, and this gives me twice S is equal to 2 minus 1, that is going to be 1, and therefore S is equal to 1 half. So spin of this is going to be 1 half. Angular momentum, orbital angular momentum is going to be L. Addition of this 1 plus 1 by 2 is 3 by 2, that is what the state is possible. So therefore here the spectral term doublet P 3 by 2 represents, we have to go for calculation of these different numbers, or we have to understand multiplicity M is equal to 2, L, since it is a P state, that's why it is at L value gets to be equal to 1, and J value is found to be 3 by 2. Then option B is M is equal to 3 by 2. This is not correct. Multiplicity is not defined here. Since it is defined in the upper subscript, that's why this is not going to be the correct answer. Then M is equal to 1 is also not true. Multiplicity is not 1 in this case at all, and this M is equal to 1/2 is also not true. So only out of these options A, B, C, D, correct option is this. A takes value to be M, multiplicity, L is equal to 1 since it's a P state, and J is equal to 3 by 2 as there is an addition of L and S, and this gives me a capital J is equal to 3 by 2. So correct option of this question number 6 is E as shown there. Then maybe there are, in further discussions, there will be some other types of expressions will be required, or to calculate such type of term values and all that. We'll discuss these things one by one. Then question 7, in one electron system, the separation among energy levels, okay, one electron system I'm saying, increases with increasing atomic number Z, decreases with increasing value of N, and decreases with increasing value of L. So there are three different. So either I have to change Z, means I have to take the different elements. For sodium, that is Na; for potassium, that is for K; for cesium, that is for Cs. So as we go on increasing, Z for this is 11, Z for this is something different, Z for this is something different, and as this Z goes on increasing, the separation among energy levels goes on increasing. So that is the separation what we draw. This goes on increasing as this Z goes on increasing. Then decreases with increasing value of N in a single atom as this N goes on increasing. For example, in case of sodium, Na we have possible, that is 3s, then this is 3p which is a doublet, then 3d which is also going to be a doublet, and like that. As we go on increasing, this separation, the separation between 3p and separation between 3d, this separation is smaller as compared to separation between these 3p. So that means as the value of N goes on increasing, same is the case. If this is for 3, if I go for 4s, 4p, etc., this 4s is a singlet, 4p is having separation as small as compared to any of the separations which where we have gone for N equal to 3. That means for N equal to 3, whatever separations between P and this D or F, etc., no F won't be there. But here in this case, this separation goes on decreasing. So decreases with the increasing value of N, and similarly L value here it is equal to 0, L value here is 1, L value here is 2. So as we go for higher and higher L value, again this separation goes on decreasing. So this decreases with increasing L in an atom, this decreases with increasing value of N in a same atom, and as we go for different atoms in this series of one valence electron system, this goes on increasing. So you have to understand, in the first case it is increases as we increase Z, so atom change. In the second case, the decreases with increasing value of N. For higher and higher orbits in an atom, this separation goes on decreasing, as well as we go for the value of L is increased as shown in this case. Again there is a decrease in the separation of this energy levels, or the splitting of energy levels is found to be smaller and smaller, and therefore all these are correct statements. So all the statements are true. This is the correct option for this particular question number 7. This is a theoretical question from the energy level diagram. Any of the energy level diagram, either for potassium, for sodium, you can understand, you can compare these energy level diagrams, and based upon that you can understand this concept that this happens in one valence electron system. Now question number 8. All the transitions among energy levels are not possible. Certain selection rules, sometimes some books call them to be transitions rules, control the transition occurrence. So which transition will occur, which will not be occur, and this is called as, so some transitions which are allowed, these are called as allowed transitions. The transitions which are not allowed, these are called as forbidden transitions, and therefore for such every transitions which will be allowed and which is not allowed, for that we have to have a certain rules, that is called as selection rules. For every quantum number, like principal quantum number, orbital quantum number, total quantum number, total angular momentum quantum number, then this spin angular momentum quantum number, for each and every quantum number, there are certain rules, quantum rules, certain selection rules, and we have to just remember what are these rules are there. So out of these options A, B, C and D, first option is n can change by any value. This is allowed. So we can get any principal quantum number. If n is equal to 2, this is n equal to 3, n equal to 4, this is valid. You are allowed to transition from n equal to 2 to 4 or 4 to 3 or 3 to 1, etc. So there is no restriction on the value of change in n. So there is n can change by any value. This is also allowed. Then L is again a subshell of this. So L can change by +1 or -1 only. So L is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. So transition between these successive levels is only allowed. From 0 to 2 or from 1 to 3, these type of transitions are not allowed. So this is again a valid selection rule for this value of the change in the L. So actually we write this delta n is equal to anything. That means there is no restriction upon this delta n. Delta L should be equal to +-1 only. Either you can go from 2 to 1 or you can go from 2 to 1 to 2, but you cannot directly go from 1 to 3 or you cannot go from 3 to 1 directly. So these type of transitions are prohibited according to quantum mechanics, and this is called as the selection rule. Same is the case here. This G, if we go for calculation of total angular momentum of the system or an electron in an orbit, we have to calculate this J by taking vector addition of L and S, and this rules or the L and S transition rules tells you this J can either change by 0, it will remain same, or it can change only by +1 or -1. So +2, -2, etc. these values are not valued there. So this is also a valid transition rule. So this delta J is equal to +-1, or first is 0 or it is +-1. So both of these transitions are allowed, and S can change by +1 only. Yes, you can take a spin angular momentum, and there is a restriction, always a quantum restriction. This spin angular momentum should not change at all. So S should be, or delta S must be equal to 0. Then and then such type of transitions are allowed according to quantum mechanics, and therefore this particular selection rule which we have written here, S can change by +1 only. This is not valid transition rule in case of the one valence electron system, and then therefore this is the correct answer of this question number 8. The selection rule for delta S is equal to 0 and not +1 or -1, and that is how in examination you have to just remember. So write it somewhere or get it very clear that what are the selection rules for change in the total quantum number, change in the orbital angular quantum number, change in the spin angular quantum number, as well as change in the total angular quantum number, total angular momentum quantum number J. So these 4 selection rules are very important selection rules. Each and every lines that is observed, or the spectral line that is observed in one valence electron system, it has to obey all the selection rules. Then and then such transitions are allowed. If any of the transition is violating these selection rules, then such transitions are not allowed, and that is called as forbidden transitions. So in energy level diagram, which you might have seen earlier, several different types of transitions are possible theoretically, but practically because of the selection rules there are selected transitions are available, and that is another very important principle of this atomic and molecular spectra. Then these are 2 coupling schemes, as we know. First one is question number 9. In the LS coupling scheme, several L vectors this is a theoretical question again. Several L vectors combine to form a resultant capital L bar. Okay, this is L bar. Actually these are all vectors. Then all S vectors separate actually combines resultant S bar, and then resultant L bar and S bar then combine to form the resultant J bar, which represents the total angular momentum of the whole electron system of the atom. Okay, so we have to go for this statement. J bar is given by L bar plus S bar, and here for individual all electrons in this particular system, this is given by L1 bar plus L2 bar, whatever number of electrons are there, L3 bar. This is separate addition of all L's, plus there is a separation addition of all S. So S1, S2 plus S3 and so on. So okay, all this, and that's what this L bar plus S bar, this addition takes place and we call such a scheme of adding this total angular momentum is called as the LS coupling scheme, and therefore the statement given is completely true. So this is not a false statement, as well as this statement is not partially true. This is also false, and this last one is also false. So correct answer, this is actually a definition of this LS coupling scheme. Several small l vector gets added to get capital L, as well as several small s vectors get added vectorially to get this capital S, and then add capital L bar and capital L bar vectorially to get this capital J, and this scheme of addition of angular momentums is called as LS coupling scheme. So question number 9, correct answer is A, that is the statement given is true. On the other hand, there is another method of coupling method. This is called as JJ coupling. So in this case, question number 10, there are 4 options given. Option A is L1 plus L2 plus L3 plus S1 plus S2 plus S3, like that. So this is what earlier we have seen. This is applicable for this LS coupling scheme. So this is not going to be option at all, whereas I have to add L1 and S1 separately, so that gives me small j1. Then I have to add L2 plus S2 individually for another electron, which is having this addition of orbital angular momentum plus spin angular momentum. So that gives me total angular momentum, that is J2. So adding this J1 plus J2 vectorially, we get capital J, and this is the scheme which is called as this JJ coupling scheme. So naturally the correct answer of this question number 10 is B. So this C is not there. Actually this negative sign is kept there, so this is not correct. So this is not going to be answer. This is also not going to be an answer. So correct answer here is this B, which is given by L1 plus S1 plus L2 plus S2 plus ... that gives you capital J. So calculation of J is calculated in such a manner: for every single electron, this total orbital angular momentum and spin angular momentum adds together, and that gives you total angular momentum, that is J1. Similarly for the second electron J2, add them vectorially and get this capital J. So this type of coupling scheme is called a JJ coupling scheme. And we have, I think in theory also we have learned that which scheme is to be used, that is up to you, or you can use both of the system. Same term values we obtain, either I am using LS coupling scheme or JJ coupling scheme, and that is not going to make any difference in our calculations. So we have to learn both of these schemes. Then question number 11, second theoretical: the fine structure of spectral lines which cannot be explained on the basis of. So earlier in chapter 1 we have seen this is one of the drawback of this Bohr atomic model. So Bohr theory could not explain the fine structure. Fine structure means if these particular lines, the spectral lines which are observed according to using a simple spectroscope, and if a high resolution spectroscope is used, we find this every line is found to be splitted or very close doublet, sometimes triplet, sometimes quadruplet. So this fine structure is called as the when we go for high resolution power instruments to observe such type of spectral lines, the spectral lines are found to be doublet, triplet, or sometimes more than that, and this type of fine structure could not be explained by the Bohr theory. So here see the question: the fine structure of spectral lines which cannot, okay, if it has been explained, if which can be explained, then your answer would have been different. Since I have which cannot be explained on the basis of, so this is what one of the shortcomings of the Bohr theory, and therefore question number 11 is a tricky question. Because of this cannot, answer it becomes Bohr theory. If this cannot is there, then it is Bohr-Sommerfeld theory as well as Planck's quantum theory. So both of these theories are successful in explaining the spectral fine structure of the spectral lines, whereas Bohr theory is not at all successful in explaining the spectral line or the fine structure of the spectral line. Then question 2, the fine structure doubling of spectral lines may be explained on the basis of. Fine structure doubling of the spectral line may be explained on the basis of. Let's first read the options. First one is magnetic interaction between the spin and orbital angular momentum of atomic electrons. B, electric interaction between the spin and orbital angular moment of atomic electrons. C, Coulombic interaction between the spin and orbital angular moment of the atomic electrons, and option D is none of this. So out of this we will find both this option B and C are just same. Electric or Coulombic interaction is just same. Here in the theory we might have learned, for a single electron, suppose this is electron, it has two motions. One is called as the spin motion, and at the same time this electron is revolving around a nucleus, so it has orbital motion. So that is called as orbital motion, and this is also the second motion is called as spin motion. So this electron revolve around this spin, and since electron is a charged particle, it undergoes this type of accelerated motion. This charged particle gives rise to a certain magnetic moment. So we have magnetic moment because of this orbital motion, as well as we have spin magnetic moment because of this spin motions, and both of these are, since magnetic field, there is an interaction between spin motion, spin magnetic moment, as well as orbital magnetic moment, and this is what we call as a spin or orbital interaction. So spin orbital interaction, and this interaction is basically responsible for the fine structure or the splitting of the spectral lines in case of one valence electron system, and because of that we get a fine structure in the spectrum of the one valence electron system. So naturally these are the interactions are magnetic interaction. I am not calling electromagnetic, it is magnetic interaction between the spin and orbital moments, angular moments. Both of these orbital and angular moment, spin angular momentum, these are magnetic moments. These moments have magnetic interaction, and this is interaction we call it spin orbital interaction, and because of that splitting of spectral energy levels is there, and therefore fine structure is possible. Therefore question number 12, correct answer is A, magnetic interaction between the spin and orbital angular moments of an atomic electrons. That is what question number 12. Question 13, this is again very simple theoretical. This is what we begin our this chapter, first chapter. So every completely specified quantum state in an atom can be occupied by only one electron. This is straightforward. This is nothing but your Pauli's exclusion principle. So Pauli's exclusion principle prevents you to have two electrons in an atom which will have all four quantum numbers same. What are these? These quantum numbers are n, that is principal quantum number, orbital angular quantum number, magnetic quantum number ml, and final quantum number, this is ms. So for every electron all these four quantum numbers must have different values. Then and then such electrons are allowed to remain in that particular state, or a completely specified state means that energy state which is having all these four quantum numbers, which is called as completely specified quantum state. And in a single such completely specified quantum state there can be accommodated only one electron, and that is what called as this Pauli's exclusion principle. So Heisenberg uncertainty principle is something different. This is delta x into delta p greater than or equal to h cross, and it is something related to the specification or the spacing of the different types of energy orbits in case of single valence electron system. So that is also not true here. So correct answer of this question number 13 is straightforward. It is Pauli's exclusion principle. So Pauli's exclusion principle prevents or is responsible basically for structuring of an electrons inside an atom. So whatever configuration write 1s2, 2s2, etc. This configuration, electronic configuration we write, that is possible because of this Pauli's exclusion principle. So this is one very important or fundamental principle of nature which tells electrons how to get accommodated inside an atom. Based upon that, structure of atom is decided, and based upon the other chemical as well as physical properties, optical properties of elements are possible or we can identify, and that's why this Pauli's exclusion principle is one of the very important principle of quantum mechanics as well as atomic and molecular spectra too. Now next question is also based upon this Pauli's exclusion principle. Pauli's exclusion principle, this statement, two electrons in an atom can have same quantum number. So this is against the Pauli's exclusion principle. No two electrons in an atom can have same quantum numbers. This is what the correct statement, and therefore B is the correct answer of this question number 14. So question number 13 and 14 are just identical. Both are based upon this Pauli's exclusion principle, and we have to understand no two electrons in an atom can have same all quantum numbers same. So Option C is no two electrons in an atom cannot have same quantum number. So this statement is again misleading. So correct option of this question number 14 is B, that no two electrons in an atom can have same quantum numbers. 15, the distribution of electrons around the nucleus in an atom is called as, this again straightforward definition, this is neither electron distribution, that comes in statistics. Atomic structure is after this configuration, whatever happens, whatever possible is atomic structure. So straightforward, the correct answer of this question number 15 is A, it is called as electronic configuration. So distribution of an electrons using or the applying all the laws or rules of this quantum mechanics as well as this atomic and molecular spectra, such type of distribution of electron is called as electronic configurations, and we are very familiar about this electronic configuration. For example, we write this electronic configuration for sodium is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 and 3s1. So why this is possible? Because of this, the rules and regulations what we have learned in this vector atom model. So vector atom model tells us that electrons distribution inside an sodium atom is given by this, and this is called as an electronic configuration. Now question number 16, L state, actually it should have L shell. Okay, this is L shell. So L shell has dash number of completely specified quantum states. So we have K, L, M cell, etc. For K cell we have value of L is equal to 0. For L cell we will have value of L is equal to 1, and for M cell we have value of L is equal to 2. Then K, L, M, N, etc. we have value of L is equal to 3 and so on. And remember, for every L there are twice L plus 1 values which are possible of for ml. So for L is equal to 0 we have this ml is equal to simply 1. For L is equal to, or L cell where we have L is equal to 1, or no need to go for this only. For L is equal to 1 we will have twice L plus 1, that means there will be 3 ml values from -1, 0 and plus 1. Similarly for this L equal to 2 will have twice L plus 2, and therefore ml is equal to -2, 0 and then plus 1, plus 2, etc. 5 different values are there. And note that for every ml there are two possibilities of ms, one is plus half and second is minus half, two orientations. That means for a particular value of L, how many number of electrons are there? For L is equal to 0, 2 number of electrons are possible. For L equal to 1, 2 into 3, that is 6 number of electrons are possible. And for L equal to 2 we have this is actually for this L equal to 2 we have there is something we have not given correct, this question is not been asked correctly. Actually what we have been asked, the L state. Okay, L state means L, M, N states. Okay, these are called as states. So L state means, I think we are having value of L is equal to 1. Okay, L, this orbital angular momentum quantum number L is equal to 1. So accordingly twice L plus 1 these values of ml will be there, and for every ml we have two possibilities, so twice L plus 1. If this calculation is done we get 2 into 1 plus 1, and that gives you 2 plus 2 into 1, 2 into 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 into D, that is 6. So total number of electrons accommodated by L cell is going to be 6, and that is what the configuration we will type twice P6. In case of sodium we write 1s2, 2s2 and 2p6. This is what we have been asked. So here L value is equal to 1, and therefore this can accommodate 6 number of electrons there, and therefore correct option or the correct answer of this question number 16 is C. It can have 6 completely specified quantum states, that is L cell has 6 completely quantum completely specified quantum states as shown by this example. Then question number 17, the spectral term notations for ground state of hydrogen atom. Okay, this word Hindi should not be there. Okay, it's not required. So the spectral term, okay, or the spectral notation term value for ground state of hydrogen atom. Now not sure hydrogen atom has configuration as 1s1. So here n is equal to 1, L is equal to 0, and S is equal to simply half. So this is what the numbers: principal quantum number, orbital angular quantum number, then spin quantum number. If L is equal to 0, ML is also going to be 0. So that is going to be only one value, that is going to be 0, and it has two possibilities: S is equal to either plus half or minus half. Out of that, this ground state is given by. So if I go for this type of distribution, then if I go for this electron, here L is equal to 0, that is S state. Then since this small s is equal to 1/2, we can go for this calculation: twice s plus 1, that gives you multiplicity. So it gives me 2 into 1/2 plus 1, that is going to be 2. So multiplicity is 2. So I'll write here, this is the multiplicity. And J value, since here J will be given by L bar plus S bar, since L bar is equal to 0, S bar is equal to plus half, so J bar is also going to be plus half. So this J in one valence electron system, or in case of hydrogen, is simply equal to 1/2. Either I can use small l, small j, or capital S, capital L, and capital J. That will be same for this one hydrogen atom, and therefore this J is equal to 1/2. This is multiplicity is 2, and since L is equal to 0 state, we are having this S is the symbol used for the term symbol, and therefore 1/2. So doublet S 1/2, this is going to be the term value or the spectral term for the ground state of the hydrogen atom, and therefore correct option of this question is doublet S half, as shown by this example. So question number 17, correct answer is a doublet S half. Likewise, if any of the value of L changes or S changes, accordingly another numbers will be possible there, as per given the option C, B, C, and D. But at present, here correct option is A, that is going to be doublet S half is the ground state of the hydrogen atom. Now these are other calculations where the term symbol for actually this S, this is not way, this is S should be equal to 1/2. So L bar is equal to 3 and S bar is equal to 1/2. So if I am given S bar and this L bar, I can go for this multiplicity, that is given by twice S plus 1. So since this is 2 into 1/2 plus 1, that is going to be 2. So multiplicity of all the terms is going to be doublet. Okay, this is going to be a doublet, and we know that this J is given by vector addition of L bar plus S bar. So L bar is as well as up to L bar minus S bar. So L bar plus S bar is 3 plus 1/2, that is going to be 3 into 2 is 6 plus 1, that is going to be 7/2, and 3 minus 1/2 second value, that is going to be 5/2. Okay, this is going to be 5/2. So two J values, this is one J value and another J value is this, and therefore we will get doublet. These are the J values, and since L is equal to 3, this is going to be F state. So L is equal to 0 is S state, P, D, and finally this is F. So I am supposed to get here, this is going to be doublet F 7/2 and doublet F 5/2. So these are the two states given here, or I can write this 2 here and here, doesn't matter. So this is doublet F 7/2 and doublet F 5/2. These are the two term values for these values of L equal to 3 and capital S is equal to 1/2. Therefore, out of this given options, the correct option is A, that is doublet F 7/2 and doublet F 5/2. Here doublet F 3/2 is not possible because we are not going to get this 3/2 anywhere as the resultant J. Similarly, this is not there. Also, this option C, this particular is incorrect. Here this is incorrect, and there is no question of D shell, as because no value of this L equal to 3, L is not equal to 2. That's why correct option of question number 18 is A, as shown by this example, and this is how we can go for this calculation. Now the Bohr magneton is given by, it is called as the unit of magnetism, unit of electronic or atomic magnetism, electronic magnetism. So this is what a unit of electronic magnetism, and this Bohr magneton is given by very simple calculation, E into H upon 4 pi m into C. So theoretically Eh upon 4 pi mc is the correct answer of this particular question. So this 4 pi mc square, 8 pi mc, Eh upon pi mc, etc., these are not correct answer. So correct answer, it's a theoretical question, magnetron, Bohr magneton is given by Eh upon 4 pi mc. So this is what the angular momentum, the magnetic moment of the electron, it is possessed because of its motion, and this is called as the Bohr magneton. Then question number 21, the motion of magnetic moment of a particle electron about the axis of applied magnetic field is called as, this is actually called as a precession or precessional motion. So when we calculate, this is the value of h, and for example this is the value of this mu l, or because of this orbital angular momentum of an electron, this mu l gets precessed. The diagrams which we draw here, this diagram shows you, this is called as precession motion, and this precession is called as nothing but Larmor precession. So the motion of magnetic moment of a particle about the axis of applied magnetic field in atomic and molecular spectra, this is called as Larmor precession. We get certain frequency of this rotation and all these things later on. Based upon that Larmor precession gives you frequency of rotation, etc. So this is called as a Larmor precession. There is not a magnetic rotation, this is not going to be a spin orbit interaction, this is not going to be a Bohr magneton. So correct answer of this question number 20 is C, Larmor precession. Now question number 21, again simple. The electron in dash dash state plays an important role in the optical spectrum of sodium atom. Again we have to go for this very simple electronic configuration, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 and 3s1. As already we have discussed, no electron from this core contribute to this optical spectrum. Whatever happens to this, that means whether it absorbs or whether it emits, etc., optical spectrum is associated with only this electron, and therefore 3s, this is the correct answer. So the electron in this 3s state plays an important role in the optical spectrum of sodium atom. If there had been changed potassium, then answer would have been 4s, because the unpaired last electron would have been in the fourth orbit, n equal to 4, that is 4s state, and this answer would have been something different. So depending upon which alkali metal we are discussing about its spectrum, then which electron will give its optical spectrum, that will be decided by its electronic configuration. For sodium it is 3s electron, or the electrons in the 3s cell, that will decide the all optical properties of this sodium atom. Then this is one diagram based question. These are called as sodium D lines. Now what is this? So we have been seen in case of sodium spectrum, we have sodium doublet in principal series as shown. So principal series is, so whatever from P, D, etc. up to doublet S half, these particular lines are called as this principal series. Two such transitions from such principal series, first two transitions are shown, where this P states gets splitted in 1/2 and 3/2, these two states, and S half is the singlet state. And now there are the two transitions are shown. So from these are transition doublet P 1/2 to doublet S 1/2, and then from doublet P 3/2 to this 2, it's not doublet, this is 2 S half, okay, this is not doublet, this is 2 is the principal quantum, S half, so it is singlet S half, this is singlet S half. So these transitions are called as principal series, first component of principal series, and these are called as sodium D lines. Okay, so these are nothing but sodium D lines, and you will find we have to go for actual wavelength, or the wavelength of this sodium D1 lines and D2 lines. So D1 lines and D2 lines are respectively. So identify from this diagram, we can see here the line which is having more energy. So this is more energetic transition. So more energy means less wavelength, and or less lambda, and less energy means large lambda. Okay, accordingly we can very easily identify the D1 will have large wavelength and D2 will have less wavelength. So naturally out of these combinations 5890 angstroms and 5896 angstroms, So you will find that this will be larger wavelength, means this is 5896, whereas this is 5890. These are the wavelengths of the spectral lines D1 and D2. So naturally my correct answer will be this B, 5896 and 5890. So D2 line will have less wavelength, or we have made a mistake, sorry, this is what not correct. This is a larger wavelength. So this is 5890 and this is 5896. More energy means, sorry, E is equal to h nu. So or E is equal to h nu C upon lambda. Okay, so lambda is more, so energy is less, and lambda is less, therefore energy is more. So lambda is less, therefore, okay, that's what correct I said. This is 5890 and this is 5896. So this type of confusion may occur. So here energy is more from this doublet P 3/2 to singlet S half. Energy is more means lambda is smaller, that's why 5890. And here in this case energy is less, therefore this lambda is bigger, and that's what 5896, and therefore B is the correct option of this question number 22 as we have shown there. Now this is again theoretical question number 23. The completely specified quantum state has required following quantum numbers. Already we have discussed this. We require these are to a principal quantum number, orbital angular quantum number, magnetic quantum number, and finally spin angular quantum number. So this A is the correct answer. So whenever all these 4 such quantum numbers are specified for a given quantum state, it is called as completely specified quantum states, and that is what already we have discussed in case of this Pauli's principle too. So 2 electron in an atom cannot have all same quantum numbers identical, or completely specified quantum state can accommodate only 1 electron. So that is what this particular picture is there. Now 24, which of the following is true regarding the Bohr model of atom? Actually this is the question from the chapter 1, but it is connected to the spectra of 1 valence electron system, that's why it is included. A assumes that angular momentum of electron is quantized, uses Faraday's law of electromagnetism. C predicts continuous emission spectra for atoms, and D predicts the same emission spectra for all types of atoms. So naturally out of this is not correct. It cannot predict it doesn't predict the continuous spectrum, but it predicts this line spectrum. So this line spectrum is predicted by this Bohr model, so that's why this is also not true. Then predicts the same emission spectra of all types of atoms. In the first chapter only we have seen every atom has its own signature spectrum. So spectrum of hydrogen is totally different than spectrum of helium. Spectrum of helium is totally different than oxygen or magnesium or any other element. That's why this is also not correct. And what correct is this? Which of the following is true regarding the Bohr atom model? It assumes the angular momentum of electron is quantized. That is what our second postulate, that mvr is equal to n into h cross. This is called as the postulate of this Bohr atomic model. This is a quantum postulate, and that's what statement A is the correct option of question number 24. And the last question we are going to discuss here, the color of light given out by sodium vapor discharge lamp, or the sodium vapor discharge lamps which we see on the road, their color is either pink or bluish green or yellow or blue, and we always usually see this color is near yellow, okay, not exactly yellow but near yellow, and these are nothing but your sodium D1 and D2 lines. Just now we have seen 58906 and 5890 angstroms. So this is the wavelength of both of these radiations. These are close to yellow color, not exactly yellow color, and that's why this particular light from sodium vapor lamp is found to be yellowish, not exactly yellow or not exactly orange. It is in between yellow and orange, but here for our convenience we are taking this particular sodium vapor lamp light to be almost yellow, and this is because of dominant D1 and D2 lines in the principal series. Along with it, the other spectral lines are also possible, but the proportion or the amount of energy radiated by that sodium vapor lamp is almost more than 99% radiations are emitted in these two lines. That's why the color of that particular sodium vapor lamp is found to be yellow. Other radiations are there, but we cannot identify them by own eyes. That's why sodium vapor lamps are usually of the yellow color. So friends, I hope all these 25 questions may have cleared some of your doubts, and maybe some of the questions will be asked in the forthcoming examination, and this video will help you in answering these questions in the coming examination. So thank you for patience listening. Maybe after a day or two, the next chapter number 3, that is 2 valence electron system, I will come up with these questions and such type of videos there. Till then, thank you and have a best stay at your home. Thank you all.